What's up guys, welcome back to Aquatic Elements. As you can see from the title and thumbnail, today we are doing a huge, really in-depth guide on keeping, selecting and looking after Datnoids. Now this is probably going to be quite a long video, but I was doing my research and I've been keeping Datnoids for a while now, and looking through the web I couldn't find any detailed guide about the Datnoid, and it is fast becoming one of my favourite fish to keep. I've got a selection of small baby Datnoids in the mini monster fish aquarium, and I've also got my larger 6 to 7 inch Datnoid in the monster fish mega tank. Now I'm looking to expand my collection, and I've been doing some research over the past few months, and I really wanted to create an in-depth guide for you guys at home if you want to learn more about this species. So let's get started. Now there are lots of different types of Datnoids, there are many different varieties, and there are also different grades. Now Datnoids can also be commonly referred to as tigerfish or tiger perch, and they belong to the family of Datnoididae, and they are generally native to Southeast Asia. Now, the Datnoid species are known for their striking appearance, which often includes bold patterns of dark vertical stripes on a light or golden background, resembling the coat of a tiger. The family consists of several species such as Datnoides pulcher, Datnoides microlepis, Datnoides pelota, Datnoides campbelli, and generally Datnoides pulcher is known for being the holy grail fish to keep. And this fact file is probably going to be tailored more towards Datnoides microlepis, as this is the most common and the most kept Datnoid in the entire world. Now, a lot of these fish are distributed throughout different areas of the world, but all of the Datnoids are located within the continent of Asia. The species are typically found in slow moving rivers, floodplains, and also brackish coastal waters. They are opportunistic predators that prey on small fish, crustaceans, invertebrates, and they can eat a variety of different foods in the aquarium. Now, the Datnoid's natural habitat is being increasingly threatened due to overfishing and also habitat destruction, making conservation efforts essential. Now, some species within the family, such as the Datnoides pulcher, is potentially extinct in the wild, but some people say that they are extinct and some say that they are severely endangered and there are not many left. Now obviously I haven't been to the areas where these fish are located, so I cannot say if there are any left in the wild, but there are a lot of people that say there are none left in the wild, and others that say they are very, very endangered. So the Datnoides pulcher is not possible to remove from the wild, which is why its value is up there. It's very, very expensive fish, and those that people do get hold of are either captive bred, but there is controversy about whether they are true pulcher, but you can also still find them that have actually been kept in captivity and purchased from other hobbyists. I would say the majority of Datnoids, especially high-grade Indo and the pulcher varieties, are very, very prized possessions in the aquarium trade and can go for considerable amounts of money. So that was the short introduction to the Datnoid. There are multiple species, as I said. First off, you've got the Indonesian tiger, known as the IT tiger, as you can see on screen now. You've also got the NGT, which stands for the New Guinea tiger, which is Datnoides campbelli, and you've also got Datnoides pulcher, known as the Siamese tiger, or ST for short. And then you've also got Datnoides pelota, which can be known as a silver tiger or the American tiger. Now we're going to go into a bit more in depth about how to keep these fish, tank size, filtration, feeding, and then we're also going to be looking at some individual specific examples of Datnoids and doing a sort of grading, if that makes sense, looking for positives and negatives, what merits individual fish have, and comparing the differences between the Indonesian tiger and the poultry as well, comparing those two fish and looking at them in a bit more depth. Now, first up, let's take a look at the Datnoids microlepis, otherwise known as the Indonesian tigerfish, which in my personal opinion is the most common Datnoid to keep. Now, these fish are native to Southeast Asia, specifically found in rivers such as the Mekong and the Chao Phraya. These fish are known for their sleek, elongated body, sharp predatory teeth, and striking coloration. As juveniles, they tend to have a golden sheen with dark stripes running along their body, which gives them the tigerfish name. As they mature, they can tend to lose a little bit of that golden hue, but they do still maintain the distinctive stripe pattern. Now, you can get stable and unstable Datnoid fish, but we will go on to that a little bit later in the video. Now, this striking pattern between the black and the gold, or the black and the yellow, gives them a really intimidating and majestic look, and the coloration is one of the reasons they are so sought after by aquarium keepers. And we're going to be delving a little bit more into the specific colorations and what makes one fish potential A grade and what makes one B grade. So let's dive into some more of the physical characteristics. Now, the Indonesian tiger can grow quite large, so I would definitely recommend a big aquarium. They can reach up to 24 inches in captivity. Now, they can get slightly bigger than that in the wild, and they still can get slightly bigger in the aquarium, but I would say generally your fish is not going to reach more than 24 inches. Generally, it's going to max out at around the 16 to 20 inch mark. Now, this does mean you need a pretty spacious tank for them. I would recommend a minimum of a 180 gallon for an old established fish. I have my small Datnoids in a 50 gallon or 40-50 gallon aquarium, as they take a long time to grow out, and these fish can take years to reach full maturity and full size. So I would say if you're keeping an adult fish, a fish above that 10 or 12 inch, you're going to need at least 180 gallon, but ideally you're going to be moving up to a 300 gallon plus. Once that fish reaches 12 to 15 inches plus, the more space the better, as with all monster fish. Now, they are known for being active swimmers. They do move around quite a lot. I would say as the fish matures and gets older, its activity levels will decrease and it will save that energy for feeding times. But with the younger fish, they're more active, more inquisitive, looking for food around the aquarium. Now, despite their impressive size that these fish can reach, they do have a streamlined body which allows them to move incredibly quickly, and they are super agile. So when you see these big, cumbersome looking Datnoids, they still can really reach some incredible speeds, and they are really agile at moving around your aquarium and your decor. Now, in the wild, the microlepis Datnoid are typically found in the slow-moving rivers, streams, and floodplains. As I mentioned before, they are found in the Mekong and Chao Phraya River, and their environments generally are full of submerged rocks, driftwood, and aquatic vegetation. If you can replicate that in your aquarium, you will see the true colors of the fish come out. Now, generally speaking, a stable Datnoid is difficult to find and difficult to come by. A fish that doesn't quite show its full colors is supposedly a happy fish, and a fish that shows their real striking bands of color and real sharp stripes, generally a slightly more stressed fish, a fish that's trying to show dominance, and a fish that is trying to ward off other fish within the aquarium. Now, my big Datnoid in the main monster fish aquarium never really has its true bars, and it is a very unstable Datnoid. I'm hoping in the future I'm going to be able to add more Datnoids to this aquarium, and I'm hoping those bars will come out. But he is definitely a happy fish. He is a really healthy fish, and I tend not to see those bars coming out too often. Now, while they are considered a predatory fish, they are generally not aggressive to anything within your aquarium unless it's very, very small. Now, there have been next to no cases of cannibalism within the species, although I wouldn't keep a 1-inch fish with a 6-inch fish. Generally speaking, having Datnoids of different size, you're not going to run the risk of having them cannibalize on each other. But if you have something like a large arowana and a small 2 to 3 inch Datnoid, it definitely will become a nice snack for your arowana if he can catch them. Now, when it comes to setting up a tank for your Datnoid, you want to be creating a really nice environment that mirrors their natural habitat. Now, I've seen a lot of bare empty aquariums that keep Datnoids, and they have really striking colors and they do look impressive. I am definitely on the fence about keeping a bare aquarium. As you can see, the Monsterfish Mega Tank is an aquascape system, supposedly looking similar to a riverbed where a lot of these fish are found in, but previously I have kept bare aquariums and they do have their benefits, keeping the water clear and really putting the focus on the fish within it. So I personally am on the fence about keeping a bare tank, and it is totally up to you what you decide to do at home. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you want something at least 180 gallons, at least a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot footprint, and water quality is another critical factor to consider. These fish generally come from moderate flowing rivers, so you want to give them a nice bit of flow rate, areas where they can also rest, such as under bits of bogwood, and also a well oxygenated environment, maintaining good water quality with large canister filters or sump filters, lots of biomedia, and a good air pump to aerate your water is always going to be a winning combination. Now, moving on to lighting. Generally, lighting should be moderate, but you should also have some shaded areas. I do find that my Datnoid loves to sit underneath the bogwood and hang out in those shady areas, and in nature these fish are going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be hiding out under pieces of wood, under areas of rock, looking for any prey items such as small fish, darting out, grabbing them, and then coming back to the safety of the submerged wood, rocks, plants, etc. So having that nice area of light and also the area of shade is going to be really beneficial for your fish. Now, I would also keep them at a temperature range between 75 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 to 28 degrees centigrade. My tank is sitting at approximately 26 degrees centigrade, and my Datnoid has been putting on really good growth in this environment. Also, don't forget substrate. In nature, they would be on a sandy, smooth gravel-like bottom, and you can replicate that in the home aquarium. I've gone for a fine sand as my bottom of the tank, but you may want to consider going bare bottom as well, just having a little bit of structure for the fish, but reducing and risking any build-up of dirt and debris in a substrate. Now, moving on to diet and feeding, before we get on to comparing some specific fish and looking at the quality traits that they have. Now, the Datnoid, as I mentioned, is a predatory fish, and it is good to feed them a varying diet. They are a very slow growing fish, but feeding them a nice variety of foods is going to help them to put on that muscle, put on the weight, and get larger in your aquarium. Now, in nature, they feed on smaller fish, insects and crustaceans. As I mentioned, you can feed them different prey items such as earthworms. When they are smaller, you can feed them bloodworms and brine shrimp. They will also accept small feeder fish dependent on the size of the fish. And my one has finally been converted onto prawns, squid, and also mussels as well. And I think this is what has contributed to the big amounts of growth that my fish has had, and it is definitely doubled in size over the past 4 months. Now, small fish can be difficult to convert onto a prepared or dried food. If you can get your fish onto pellets, you're really going to enhance that growth level and really speed it up. A high protein carnivore pellet is going to be really good for these fish if you manage to convert them off of a live or a frozen food. Now finally, just before we have a look at some individual specific Datnoids, which I'm going to get up on the screen and show you the comparison between Datnoides pulcher, the Siamese tiger, and Datnoides microlepis, the Indonesian tiger, I just want to talk briefly about breeding and reproduction. Now, a lot of the Datnoids that we do keep in the aquarium hobby are wild caught, and they do vary in different sizes, different patterns and different qualities. Now, I personally have not been to a Datnoid farm, but supposedly Datnoides microlepis is bred in quite large numbers in Asia, and the discussion between Datnoides pulcher is whether it is captive bred, whether it is a captive bred hybrid between pulcher and microlepis, or whether the only specimens in the aquarium trade are actually from the wild. Now, there are a couple of farms out there in Thailand that are supposedly breeding the Datnoides pulcher, and I really hope that they are breeding the true pulcher and they can bring those into the aquarium trade, because they are such an amazing fish to keep. And we're going to have a look at some pictures in particular in just a moment and have a look at comparing them between the microlepis and the lovely pulcher. So breeding the Indonesian tiger in captivity is possible, but it is very, very rare, and I'm not sure if it has yet to be done in the aquarium environment or whether it has only been done in a breeding mud pond scenario. In their natural habitat, they do spawn in these large rivers during the rainy season, and unfortunately, as I mentioned, breeding in aquariums is challenging due to the precise water conditions that they've come from, and they are not fully understood just yet. However, if you're dedicated to maintaining excellent water quality, keeping the right ratios of males and females, maybe keeping them as a species only aquarium, then there is always that possibility that they could breed. So that is the general keeping, the general requirements, the feeding requirements of the Datnoid, and in specific the Datnoid microlepis, otherwise known as the Indonesian tiger. And now we are going to put a few different images up on the screen of the different types of Datnoids and the different grades as well. So first up, I'm going to start with, I would say, the lowest grade Datnoid, and we're going to work our way up to the higher grade fish. Now, you may see fish sold online, and some vendors may use the grading varieties such as C grade, B grade, A grade, AA grade, etc. And generally, I don't really like to use this grading system. It is also used in the fancy goldfish world, and it's so difficult because one vendor's AA grade might be another vendor's B grade, and it's really hard to find a crossover between them. But the pictures that I'm bringing up on the screen now are going to be, we're going to start at the lower grade, and you'll know what to look for if you do select your own fish. So the first fish, as you can see, is a Datnoides microlepis, otherwise known as the Indonesian tiger fish. And you can see that this fish has 3 main bars across it. Fish with small number of bars are higher quality, but also fish with a symmetrical pattern are high quality, and fish with the deeper bodies, the slightly compacted deeper bodies, imitating the Datnoides pulcher look, are also of a high grade too. Now, as you can see on this fish to my left, this fish doesn't have very clean bars. The fish looks a little bit washed out. The base colour is not a nice golden yellow. It's more of a light brown in colour. And the bars, although it does have 3-ish bars, the 3 main bars, They are not very stable, they're a little bit washed out. So this would be classed as a low grade fish. Now we will talk a little bit more about the stability of fish after I've spoken about the fish on screen, and then we will wrap up the video, because Datnoids and stability is something everyone wants to know, and everyone wants to know the magic cure on how to keep their fish stable all of the time. But I would say this is a lower grade fish, and now we're going to take a look at a slightly higher grade fish. So now you'll be able to see this Datnoid definitely looks a bit different to the one we previously had on the screen. Now you'll be able to see that this fish also has 3 main bars within the body, and it's also got a little bar just at the top as well. Now you'll notice that the fish's base colour is a little bit more golden, it's a little bit more intense and vibrant, and those black bars are much stronger and they are ink black to see, which makes this fish a little bit more of a higher grade fish. But let's remember, these fish are not always the same colour, and I will cover that after we've looked over these 5 or 6 fish that I'm going to bring up on the screen. But generally speaking, I would say this is a better fish, and you're going to pay a little bit more than the previous one to have that more rich colour. So moving on to the third fish, you'll be able to see this Microlepis has a nice golden base colour. I would say this is getting into the A grade fish, which some vendors may use, and this is definitely a higher grade fish. Now obviously it is a one-dimensional picture, so we can't see the other side of the fish, but let's just pretend it is a mirror image. This fish has 4 main bars. You'll be able to see it does also have a few other bars. Generally speaking, across the whole of the fish, a Microlepis will have between 7 and 8 bars, and a Poulture will have around 5 bars. But you'll see on this fish, the fish has very clean bars to it. They are identical and they maintain a nice smooth edge. They run from the top of the fish by the dorsal fin all the way down to the bottom by the pelvic fins, and it's got a nice contrast in colour. It's got a nice body shape. It's definitely not as deep as you would have seen on a Poulture, but we will come to those fish in just a moment. Now we have moved on to the Datnoids Poulture. These fish command a much higher price. The fish you would have seen previous, if you're purchasing them between 2 and 4 inches, you're going to pay anywhere from potentially 60 to 100, maybe 150 pounds for a small sized fish. Moving on to the Poulture, as you can see on the screen now, you're going to easily be paying in the UK anywhere from, I would say, £4,000 at a minimum, up to, well, the sky is really the limit. These fish can reach £10,000-20,000 depending on the quality of the fish and also the colour morphs as well. Now I personally don't know of any Poulture, any Datnoids Poulture within the UK, but I'm sure there are a few kicking about, and I'm sure there are a few really old fish that hobbyists have imported from a long time ago, and they are definitely still possible to get hold of. But as I said, these fish are either from hobbyists across the world that have been bought and then shipped to the UK, or they are from this potential farm that is breeding them, but we cannot guarantee they are true Poulture. Now the fish you'll see on screen now is actually from predatory fins, and I believe they had these fish between around $5,000 to $8,000. Now you'll really be able to see the gold pattern and the gold base to the Poulture. It is definitely more intense, and it's definitely more of that yellow gold in comparison to the Microlepis. They always will have 3 main bars on the body in comparison to the Microlepis, which will generally have 4 bars, and on a high grade one you will get the 3 bars. The Datnoids Poulture is a much more stable fish. This fish is pretty much always going to be maintaining its nice striking pattern, and it's going to be stable a lot more of the time in comparison to the Indonesian tiger, the Datnoids Microlepis. Now you also notice on the main bar to the fish is a thick bar. Now these fish are also called thick bar Datnoids, and that main bar forms a dagger like appearance. It starts big at the top and it goes down to the point. and forms a dagger-like appearance, which is one of the telltale signs between a microlepis and a poacher. Now you'll also be able to see on the caudal fin or the tail, there is a nice split between the two bars there, which is another classic sign. The poacher is also a shorter fish with a taller body, and generally they are a bit smaller in size than the microlepis. They reach up to 12 to 16 inches. They can get bigger than that, but generally speaking, they are a smaller fish to the microlepis. Now we've looked at the 3-bar poacher. Let's take a look at this 3-bar microlepis. Now these fish may look very, very similar to the untrained eye, but there are slight differences between them. Now sometimes Datnoids microlepis, as you can see here, a 3-bar version is sold as a Datnoids poacher because it can command 20 times the price. But there are subtle differences. The fish is slightly squashed, it's not quite as tall, it's a little bit more elongated, and you'll notice it doesn't quite have the same dagger-like middle bar. Also, the bars on the tail are slightly different, and there are a few more different signs in comparing a poacher to a microlepis. I am definitely by no means an expert, and feel free to correct me down in the comment section, but I'm trying to give you a few of the general differences between them. This is a very high quality fish, a very, very rare fish as well. The 3-bar Datnoids are considerably more rare than the 4-bar, and if you're purchasing a Datnoids microlepis as a 3-bar similar to this, you can expect to pay anywhere for a 1.5 inch fish anywhere from 150 to 200 pounds, going up to a 3 to 4 inch fish of 250, 300 pounds, upwards from there. As these fish get bigger, they hold their value and they do increase in value. They are one of the only fish, I would say, that does increase in value as they get bigger. Generally buying fish on the second-hand market, they generally don't have the same price that they would at retail, but Datnoids are one of the fish that do tend to hold their value as they are such prized fish and they are extremely slow growing. Now finally onto the last fish. This is an absolutely incredible specimen of a Datnoids poacher, and a very, very large specimen at that. You can see that lovely dagger-like stripe to the middle. You can see it's got 3 lovely clean bars. It is a real nice golden base to it, and it is a big size. That fish is probably easily in the 18-inch range. It's got a nice deep body to it. It's got a little bit more of a shortened, compact body in comparison to the microlepis, and overall is a superb fish. Now a fish like this, depending on where you live, could easily run from 10 to 15,000 pounds, or maybe even $20,000. So we've gone over all of the main keeping habits of the Datnoid. We've gone over a few different pictures as well. Now let's finally talk about stability. Now, a lot of people will have their opinions on what makes a Datnoid stable. Now, firsthand, my opinion, as you would have seen, the Datnoid in the main monster fish aquarium is not a stable fish. So he's a slightly lower quality fish. He doesn't have 4 clean bars or 3 clean bars, but he is a happy fish. He is growing very quickly, and he is a really confident fish at feeding times. But when you compare them to my fish in the mini monster fish aquarium, these fish all are a little bit more stable. Now, is this because there are other fish in the tank? They are trying to show their aggression. They are trying to show, hey, don't eat me, I will fight back. Are they trying to show a bit of dominance? Is it potentially that I have multiple Datnoids together in the tank and they are flaring or showing off between each other? Now, I think this is a combination of different things, and feel free to put your opinion down in the comment section. Now, I would say a happy Datnoid is a fish that is not showing its true colour. We are talking about the microlepis here, not the poacher. A fish that is a little bit washed out is definitely, in my opinion, a happier fish. And I would say the fish in the mini monster fish aquarium that are showing off those stripes, they're pretty vibrant in colour. I would say they are a little bit more stressed than my other fish in the Monster Fish Aquarium, and they are showing these stripes as a fear factor, or showing them as a dominance factor as well. Now feel free to make your own decision on why you feel that these fish are the way they are. I personally absolutely love the look of them when they are stable, showing their lovely bars, but potentially they might not be as happy as a fish that is a little bit more washed out. So that comes to the end of our video. Hopefully I've gone over all the different aspects of keeping Datnoids, and obviously specifically the Datnoids microlepis, the Indonesian tigerfish. Hopefully I've covered everything. If I haven't, leave a comment down below and feel free to have a discussion with each other and me down in that comment section. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any video suggestions, leave them down below. Thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.